Bill Maher is a guy who we've had many issues with lately. Back in the day when I liked Bill Maher a lot, he was hammering George W. Bush during the War on Terror era over the illegal wars and torture, and he just seemed like he was a much stronger voice on the left. Even during the 2016 race, he was pro-Bernie Sanders. That's one of the rare voices that has a foot in the mainstream world who was doing that. So, he had a pretty solid left-wing fan base. But in recent years, and you guys have all seen this, he's really leaned into the anti-wokeness thing where it sort of dominates his mind and his commentary. And it's almost like he fancies himself more of an enlightened centrist now. He supported Amy Klobuchar in the 2020 Democratic primary. So he's the only person in the country who went from Bernie in 2016 to Amy Klobuchar in 2020. Let's just say he's just gotten worse and worse. And I'm putting it kindly to say that, right? Well, anyway, he had a moment here. He had Andrew Yang on his show, Real Time. And this is going to be a rare return of base Bill Maher, because he's asking a question of Andrew Yang and pointing some stuff out that I think is totally fair and totally legitimate about Andrew Yang's third party, the Forward Party. So I'm going to let them take over now. We'll break it down as we go.
I don't get your third party because I read your website, and it's a bunch of mush. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying it's not specific. It doesn't even mention this.
He's right. This was the exact same criticism we had when he launched the Forward Party. We went to the Forward Party website, and there weren't policies there. There weren't policies. They stripped it down to bare bones, and it was all just pablum about, coming together and being enlightened and, trying to get stuff done. That is good stuff. We're not going to be hyper-partisan. We're not left, we're not right, we're forward. It's like, okay, well, what are you fighting for? What are you fighting for? The only thing that you give them credit for is the ranked choice voting thing. I think that's good, right? But that's one of the only things that they want to fight for.
And why start a third party, which is a long shot anyway, if you're not going to be bold and what?
Oh, I'd love to dig into this.
Please do.
Yeah. So what I determined was that our current political system is not going to address poverty or climate change or polarization unless you actually fix the incentives. And it was a U.S. senator who said this to me, and everyone needs to understand this. She said, we're at a point in American life where an issue is worth more to us unaddressed than addressed.
And how are you going to fix that? How is the Forward Party going to fix that? Just by starting a third party? You're going to be subject to those same incentives that the other parties are subject to. Because he misses the whole picture. Why are the incentives messed up? The incentives are messed up because of big money. Because of billionaires and corporations flooding the political system with their money and basically rigging the laws in their favor and screwing regular people. That's why it's messed up. Now, when Andrew Yang was asked about the Forward Party taking big money, his reaction was... He didn't take a hard stance against taking big money. So you're going to be subject to the exact same incentives that the other parties are subject to.
If I lean forward to solve the problem, what happens? I get beat up by my base, my job security goes down, I get attacked. Right. So we're in a no compromise zone. So if you wanted to, let's say, alleviate poverty in America, you have to fix our democratic system. This two-party system is not designed to deliver solutions.
I just have to...
See, this is another problem with the party, is it fetishizes bipartisanship. Andrew, bipartisanship isn't inherently good. Sometimes it's good, but it's not inherently good. Oftentimes when Democrats and Republicans come together, they come together to do bad things, like the war in Iraq, for example. I mean, how many votes against that did we have? One? Barbara Lee? And I think that's it? I mean, I guess Bernie too, but that's it? They've done bipartisan deals to deregulate Wall Street. They did a bipartisan deal which led to the deregulation in 2018, which gave us the SVB, Silicon Valley Bank crash. So this idea of, there's a no compromise zone. No, sometimes it's a very compromise zone, and the compromise is very bad. I mean, these things are obvious, right? Every now and then you can get some bipartisan stuff where there's a good outcome. But, if you were to do a quantitative analysis of it, you would find very quickly, probably the majority of times that the Democrats and the Republicans come together, they come together to do bad things. So the problem is not lack of compromise. Again, the problem is they do bad things because they are corrupt. And he has no answer to that whatsoever. He just misdiagnosed the problem.
Yeah, but again, that's...
I just have to say, so I'm not 100% sure how a different party, I mean, you have to explain how that's going to change the whole system. But here's the thing. If you have a senator, as someone who's running for Senate, if you have a senator who's saying the incentives are wrong, so I can't do the right thing, that's the problem, not the fact that we need another party. It's that you have people who won't take risks. You have people who are going to put their reelection over anything else, who are worried from a primary from their left or for right, 100%. But if you put people who are brave in those places, if you put people who are saying, like, look, if I don't win my next election, no one dies. I can go on. I'll find another job. Then you actually see the incentives change, because then they want to do the right thing. That is part of why our government doesn't work. It sometimes is people.
So look,
that's such a stupid point. It's taking the blame away from the systems and putting it on the individuals. What if I told you there's not much that's uniquely evil about 90% of the people who are in our government? They're just people, and they're responding to the incentives of the system. So she has it exactly backwards. The idea, oh, you just need brave people. There's a lot of brave people who went to Washington, D.C. with good intent, and then they just become part of the system. So maybe it's not about the people. Maybe it is about the incentives. Maybe it is about the corruption. You know, Yang is right that incentives are the problem, but he doesn't get the incentive right. He doesn't understand the root of the problem, which is the money.
First, I love what you're saying, but there was a guy in Michigan who bravely voted to impeach Donald Trump at great personal risk, Peter Maher, and he lost his seat in part because Democrats boosted his extremist challenger, because that challenger is going to be easier to beat in the general. We have an incentive system right now. If you step up like Peter did, or Adam Kinzinger, or Liz Cheney, you're out of there. And so there are people that see this and say, okay, I get it. But the way out is to do what they did in Alaska, which is why Lisa Murkowski is the only Republican senator who voted to impeach Donald Trump, who made it back and was up for re-election in 22. You know why? Because they got rid of the party primaries in Alaska. That's why Sarah Palin lost to Mary Peltola. That's why Lisa Murkowski beat Kelly Tshibaka, the Trump-endorsed loony, who would have beaten her in a Republican primary. You get rid of the primaries, you fix the incentives, and that's what the Forward Party is designed to do.
Ranked choice voting is good, Andrew, but this is why your politics are so hollow. Because you ended up endorsing people who voted like 80% or 90% of the time with Trump, but they were in favor of Trump's impeachment. So you thought, oh, this is some bipartisan maverick hero, so I'm going to support them. That doesn't make you a bipartisan maverick hero. If you're for the impeachment of Donald Trump, that's good. But if you're not in favor of Medicare for all, you're not in favor of a living wage, you're not in favor of ending the wars, then I really don't have that much interest in you. I don't. So he's got a very vapid, hollow ideology. Like, somebody just has to be a little bit contrarian in order for him to just, you know, totally cream himself and be like, oh, I'm going to support that person. And it's like, casting one good vote doesn't make you a good politician. And so, you know, it's like he's starting this 712th version of the enlightened centrist third way approach to politics. I mean, this is just standard, you know, corporate Democrat stuff. But he acts like it's so revolutionary, and it's not. And this isn't going to make any big change in a positive direction. I will come out here and give him credit. If he could find a way, focus solely on ranked choice voting and get that everywhere in the country, I'll give him massive credit for that. But really, what's happened with this Forward Party is he kind of took his eye off the ball a little bit. His eye was off the ball from just trying to implement ranked choice voting everywhere, and now it became a party, and, you know, he's endorsing people with terrible records and whatnot. So I don't have much hope that he's actually going to focus on the only part of this that matters, which is ranked choice voting. Anyway, Maher goes on to make a really good point. Watch this.
I would just say that I think it's one thing to have that conversation at a state level, and I'm not against having that kind of primary, right? There's not a different party there. There's not a third party that they're part of. It's a different primary system. But when you're talking about a third party, like, I like math, right? And I want to make sure that if we have a third party, that it's not going to be handing the country over to people who are extreme, who have fascist leanings. Like, I want to make sure that we do. I'm not the last person to say that the Democratic Party is perfect, trust me. But I'm just concerned that a third party means we're handing the country over to people who do not have good intentions for democracy.
That's not my concern. My concern is almost all the third parties, except save maybe one or two, libertarians and Greens, they don't even have ballot access around the country. And even the ones that do have ballot access, it's like in 48 states, not all 50 states or whatever. And if you're going all in on the party before you get yourself on the ballot to give yourself a chance, and before you get ranked choice voting to make it so that you're viable, then you're putting the cart before the horse. And you're always going to top out at like 2% or 3%, which is just a waste of time. If we first got to a place where whatever third party in question has ballot access and we have ranked choice voting, then it's a totally different ballgame. And then they become a lot more viable because, people will feel like I'm not wasting my vote if I vote for them because I could just put whatever third party first and then I could put the Democrats second. And so you don't feel like I'm contributing to what this woman just described, which is how a lot of people feel that, oh my God, I'm wasting my vote if I do that. Well, again, the way around that is have ballot access for the whatever third party you're talking about and have ranked choice voting. And so if you do those things first, I would become a massive third party simp because then you're in the ball game, right? And then you'll start chipping away. You'll get 5%, 10%, it'll actually make a difference. But the way the system is right now, as long as you have first past the post voting, it is beyond a pipe dream to try to win with a third party. Which, by the way, Andrew Yang recognizes this to one extent or another, which is why he's come out and said, oh no, you can be a Democrat and be in the forward party. You can be a Republican and be in the forward party. Because he knows, if we don't have ranked choice voting and I don't have ballot access anywhere, then this is just a total waste of time. So he has his little way around that. But again, Maher's going to bring up what I think is a devastating point here.
And what about the issue, though? I mean, if you're going to start the third party, don't you at least have to have one major issue? And I thought you had one. This UBI thing, universal basic income. Everybody gets free money. Whether you believe it or not, it's an idea.
Now, by the way, in the original clip, which goes on longer, Yang doesn't have an answer, and then they just sort of pivot to another issue. Which to me is kind of like a checkmate, because that was one of the first things I realized when I was looking at the Forward Party website. It's like, hold on, Andrew Yang built his name and his brand off of I'm the UBI guy. And you can even give him some semblance of credit for the fact that we had direct stimulus payments during the pandemic. He helped mainstream the idea of universal basic income. Now, it's not even on the Forward Party website. They dropped it completely. So what happened? You were the champion of this idea, a good idea. Now it's not even part of this new third party you created. What's the point? What are you doing? He did a great service by mainstreaming UBI, and now he's abandoning it. And even Bill Maher, who, by the way, I don't think supports UBI, is like, well, that was a better idea. At least you had a thing. And if the Forward Party was just viewed as like we're the UBI party, then it would be more legitimate, right? There'd still be other systemic problems like I just described, but at least it'd be like, hey, they're championing something that deserves to be championed. And you get the sense Yang knows he abandoned it, and Yang knows that makes people look at him differently. And he's got some shame over that, as he should. So anyway, there you go. It's surprising that Bill Maher actually grilled him on this and made some decent points, because it's been a long time since Bill Maher has made any decent points, but here we have it. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.